Hello all. Alright, looks like winter has finally gotten to California. Let me show you. This is where we live. The temperatures now are in the 30s. Up here, -10, -15 degrees Fahrenheit. Florida, still warm in the 70s. But over in California, cold. Last video, Peak Oil Update, had quite a few comments, and I wanted to do this video on one of the comments. Let me show you. Okay, David Smith made a comment that BP has said that the North Sea near Scotland Islands, in the Scotland Islands oil fields, they were claiming that in just a few years they would have 8 billion barrels of oil online. Well, that's not really true. Get all this stuff off the board here. Let me show you what's going on with the North Sea. This is the seabed. The water is way up here, and it's in layers, mostly sandstone. The oil that they're claiming that's 8 billion barrels are many fields. There's several fields there. They call them the A, B, and different named fields. But let's just go to one field and show you what's going on. This is the oil deposits. There's something like this. This is sort of like what they look like. What's so fascinating about this is the way that they get the oil. So they drill down with multiple wells into these areas. Are you following me so far? Alright, so this is what it looks like under the seabed. This can be thousands, 9,000, 10,000 feet below the seabed. There's these little pockets of oil. So let me show you another picture. Now we're looking down on the seabed, and what they have are what they call wellheads all over the floor of the ocean. Looks something like this, where they have drilled down into those pockets that are something like around in here, right? So they drill down, slant drill, whatever they have to do to get to them. Okay, so that's looking down. Now let's get into some detail on this. Let's look at these wellheads. This is such high technology. I never knew this existed. Just one wellhead looks something like this, and they vary. They have these big long pipes. The size of these are about the size of a building's roof. So if you take your average skyscraper and cut off the top, that's sort of about the size. The dirt level is something like that. These are lowered down by cranes and put in. Then they come down and they drill into these drill heads. They can put multiple drill heads in. These can have multiple drill heads. And then they go down into that oil reserve, depending on which pocket they're after. So we have these wellheads all over the seafloor. This is all underwater, 9,000, 10,000 feet, 8,000 feet, or it could be shallow, depending on the field that they're in. What's so amazing is that the way they connect all these wellheads, okay, and they run pipes from one to another, all over the seabed, and then they all come up to a central area. And then these go up to the ship, up to a permanent ship that just sits in one place, and it collects all the oil. But it's not only that. That way they can get lots of little pockets of oil from all over the place and just have one ship, which, now this is the ship, and everything's in oil, everything's done in sections, or like this is a section, this is a section, this is a section. So they may store the oil down here, but they process it up here. They actually process the oil on the ship. So oil may come up. See, the oil comes up in the back, and then it's processed, brought into different processing sections, and then stored down in these holes. What's interesting is the technology that they're using. Let me show you. So the pipes come up from the sea bed, and they sort of go like this and then up to the ship. Okay, this allows the ship to weather vane in the wind and go up and down in waves or in tidal, because everything's flexible. They're called an S-curve. So all these main pipes come up from the seabed and go up to the ship, and are constantly pumping oil up into the ship. Then other ships come and offload the oil from this ship onto this ship, and they go off to the oil refineries. So there are many companies that are together and working on this project together, trying to get as much oil out of the North Sea as they can. BP has said that there are 8 billion barrels of oil, recoverable oil. That can't be the case, because they're going to use water injection. This oil is supposed to come online in about 2017, 2018. Some of it's come online already, but they're having to use water injection. Whenever there's water injection involved, it means it's difficult to get the oil out. Let me show you. This is one of the pockets of oil. So they come down with these pipes, with the wells, and they suck. So this one may be injecting water down into the well. The water is injected around the outside of another pipe, which is a pipe inside of a pipe, so that they can run water down and up. So the water comes down, it's heated, and the oil mixes with the water and then makes it more liquid. So then they have a pump that sits down here, can then pump the oil back up. It's a difficult oil to get. However, because this is sweet crude, the very best oil you can get, it makes it worth the billions of dollars they're spending to get it. But as far as 8 billion barrels of recoverable oil, very doubtful indeed. That's wishful thinking. How much is 8 billion? How far will 8 billion barrels of oil get you in today's world market? Only 88 days worth of supply. No big deal. They will spend years, about 25 years, recovering this oil, and it will only last about 88 days in the world market. They say they're not too worried about peak oil. They ought to be. This is one of the biggest fields left. There's some in Africa, and they're claiming that the U.S. has lots of recoverable oil. Nah, not really. I'm having trouble commenting on some people's messages that come into YouTube. Sometimes the reply button isn't there, and I'm not really sure why, whether it has to do with Google Plus or being signed in here and not signed in there or something. But if I don't reply to your messages, it's not that I don't want to. It's just because YouTube has done something to make it impossible to reply to your message. Okay, let's get over to some politics. Ugh, enough to make you throw up, huh? Anyway, Harry Reid is the Senate Majority Leader of the U.S. Congress. Now, he wants some exemptions from Obamacare, the ACA. He was one of the biggest supporters of the bill. So it's required that all Congress people have to buy the gold plan of the Obamacare exchange. But he wants exemptions for himself and some of his staffers. That's absolutely amazing. Now, Obama doesn't have to do it, and some of these Congress people are trying to get exemptions from doing it. Let's find out if there's any others. By the way, Reid's a Democrat. Not that I care. I don't care whether they're Republican or Democrat, they're all crap. I think we need to vote these people out, and let me tell you why. There are several other Congress people that want either them or their staff exempt. Barbara Boxer, some of their staff and her. Tim Johnson, he wants all of his staff exempt, plus himself. Patty Murray wants all of her staff and her exempt. Ron Wyden, he wants some of his staff and himself exempt. Oh, by the way, every one of these people are D's, Democrats. All the Republicans are signing up for the health care. We all know that this health care is garbage. It's expensive. A large amount of money has to be paid out before you get any health care. And some of the lower plan health benefits are just a small amount. You don't get the full benefit at the lower end. The Obamacare Act, people will be required to sign up for these insurance plans by January. Oh, wonderful. Well, it was too cold out there. It's warmer now that the sun came out. One nice thing about California, if the sun's out, it's warm. So, if we don't like what the politicians are doing, then it's up to us to vote these people out. Regardless of what country you're in, it doesn't matter. If we can vote, then we need to get rid of these people. If you keep voting in the same DNR or the same crony capitalists that are in now throughout the world, then nothing will ever change. It will just stay the same. Every single time there's an election, if you vote, it's up to you to get rid of the bad people and put in the alternatives. Look it up, find out what's there, and vote that way. Stop voting for these corporatists. You know, they think that they're going to get an exemption from taxes. The Obamacare is a type of tax, and these politicians think they have every right to have an exemption from it. Really? And one other note, if we're willing to put so much money into looking for oil and gas throughout the world, why don't these politicians change the subsidies that they pay for freeways, cars, gas and oil exploration and pipelines, and take all that money and put it into solar and wind technology? Just think what we could do with that kind of money, and how we could get other people involved in the business of solar and wind, and put far more people to work that way than we ever will through oil and gas exploration, since most of that is done by robotics now. So let's get rid of the oil and gas and put in solar and wind. We could put a solar panel on every single roof throughout the world and have all the electricity we would ever need. However, it will require that efficiency is built into our electronics, and that we're not so greedy to have every single thing on at the same time, and to have the biggest television and the biggest stereo and the biggest this and the biggest that. We're going to have to go back into the way we used to be, when people followed certain religions, and some of these religions, the deities told them that they had to get rid of all their wealth and items to follow these deities. To this day, most of these politicians believe in one deity or another, but they don't do anything of what the deity asks for, such as giving all your wealth to the poor, per se. Spread the wealth out for everyone so that we're not so divided between rich and poor. It's ridiculous that last night it was in the 30s, and there's no homeless shelters anymore in the city to speak of. They just sit and cuddle and have dogs that they try and sleep with to keep warm, but we just don't seem to care about the poor anymore. What a shame. Alright guys, until next time. And thanks for the comments. And by the way, we're up to 99 followers, so subscribers. So if you'd like to be the 100th subscriber, then go ahead and tell us that you're the 100th subscriber so that I could tell other people that you are the one that reached the 100. Now when we reach 1,000 subscribers, we'll have to give something away. Like this pen.